Aisha was a 13-year-old girl who lived in a tiny mud house at the edge of a bustling city. Her father worked as a laborer, carrying bricks on construction sites, while her mother stitched clothes late into the night. Despite their endless hard work, the family could barely afford 2 meals a day. Aisha's clothes were old, patched many times over, and her shoes had long lost their soles. Yet her eyes carried a brightness that no hardship could dim. Every morning, Aisha would walk past a nearby school, pressing her face against the iron gate. She loved watching the children in neat uniforms, laughing and carrying books. She longed to join them, to sit at a desk, and to write her name in a notebook of her own. But her family had no money for fees, and even buying pencils was a luxury they couldn't afford. Instead, Aisha spent her days helping her mother, fetching water from the well, and taking care of her younger siblings. At night, when the world was asleep, she would sit under the dim streetlight outside her home with scraps of paper she collected from garbage bins. Using a piece of charcoal, she practiced writing letters she had seen on discarded newspapers. She whispered words to herself, as though trying to hold on to a dream that kept slipping away. One day, while Aisha was collecting plastic bottles near the school, a teacher noticed her. He watched the way she looked at the classrooms, her eyes wide with silent yearning. Approaching her, he asked gently, "Do you want to study?" Aisha hesitated, clutching the bottles tightly, afraid of being scolded. But finally she nodded. The teacher was moved by her quiet determination. He spoke with the principal, and soon Aisha was offered a scholarship to attend the school. The first day she walked into the classroom wearing a borrowed uniform, her heart raced. She was nervous, but when she opened her first book and traced the letters with her fingers, tears filled her eyes. For the first time, she wasn't just dreaming, she was living it. Her journey wasn't easy. After school, she still had to work to help her mother. Often she studied late into the night, her eyelids heavy but her spirit strong. Her classmates sometimes teased her for being poor, but Aisha didn't let their words break her. She carried within her a strength that came from years of struggle. Years later, Aisha stood on a stage, receiving an award for topping her district exams. The same teacher who had once noticed her in the street clapped proudly from the front row. As she held the certificate in her trembling hands, Aisha thought of her parents who sacrificed so much and of all the nights she had studied under the streetlight. Her journey was far from over, but she had proven to herself and to the world that poverty could limit her resources, but never her dreams. Would you like me to make this story end on a sad note instead of a hopeful one? In a quiet village surrounded by fields of golden wheat lived a little girl named Anaya. She was only 8 years old, yet her eyes carried a depth that many adults lacked. Her father worked as a farmer, struggling to earn enough to feed the family, while her mother stitched clothes for neighbors to help make ends meet. Life was simple, but often heavy with hardship. Anaya loved school more than anything else. Her notebooks were worn, her pencils often broken, but she treated them as treasures. Every morning she would run barefoot across the dusty path to her small classroom, her face glowing with excitement. She dreamed of becoming a teacher one day, someone who could change lives with knowledge. But reality was not kind. One evening, as she sat under the dim light of a lantern, her father sighed deeply and said, "Anaya, we may not be able to send you to school anymore. The harvest was poor, and we cannot afford the fees." The words pierced her like a knife. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't argue. She understood her parents' struggles, yet her little heart refused to give up hope. That night, lying on a thin mat, she whispered a silent prayer. "God, please don't take away my school." The next morning, Anaya made a decision. If her parents couldn't afford school, she would help. She began collecting wildflowers from the fields and weaving them into small garlands. With a shy smile, she sold them in the village market. Some people bought them out of kindness, others because they saw the determination in her eyes. Slowly, coin by coin, she saved enough to pay her school fee for another month. Her teachers noticed her struggle. One day, her teacher, Miss Farah, asked why Anaya often came late and tired. With hesitation, Anaya confessed her secret. Tears filled Miss Farah's eyes. She shared the story with the headmaster, and soon, the school decided to sponsor Anaya's education. When Anaya heard the news, she cried, not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude. She hugged Miss Farah tightly and promised, "One day I will become a teacher like you. I will help children who cannot afford to dream." Years passed, and Anaya never gave up. She studied under lantern light, worked hard in every subject, and kept her dream alive. Her small garlands had once paid for her school, but her determination paid for her future. Anaya eventually became a teacher in the same village where her story began. The children loved her, not only because she taught them letters and numbers, but because she taught them hope. She told them, "Dreams may be small, like seeds, but if you water them with hard work and faith, they will grow into strong trees." And so, the little girl who once feared losing her education became the light for many others, proving that even the smallest child can carry the biggest dreams.